Good morning and welcome to First Parish in Portland, a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, where I am so thrilled to welcome you to in-person worship. If you are visiting for the first time, know that this week, actually Sunday and through the rest of the month, we are celebrating Women's History Month, so all of the themes of today's service are around women's history. And Brenda Franey's wonderful ingathering was a medley of music that was composed by Frances Lane Crosby. She wrote over 9,000 hymns in her lifetime. She wrote so many that she had to use pseudonyms, because if she had her name in all the Christian hymnals, she would have been the only one in there. So, and one of the most significant facts about her is that she did all of this, though she was blinded by injury when she was an infant. So, shout it out for Frances Jane Crosby. And if you are visiting today, we would also like you to know that our membership coordinator, Lori, is not in the building today, but if you would like more information about this service, then we can get your emails and you can talk to any of the ushers or me following the service. We hope that you will find something of meaning and inspiration by joining us today, and that you'll come back and learn more about us. Whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your gender identity or your religious background, whatever your culture, we have made a space for you here this morning and hope you feel welcome and included in our community. In your orders of service. Announcement. You have, last week I mentioned Easter flowers. So what we're doing is we're collecting names of people or anniversaries, dates, anything that you would like to remember and be held up in our order of service on Easter. You can put a donation of any amount, fill out the back so we know who made the donation and what you're donating for, and then there'll be an insert in Easter's order of service that says, in memory of, and there'll be the names or the events that you would like to remember. So, fill the place with lilies and hyacinths and tulips and daffodils, please. Every week in this meeting house, we remember that we are sitting and where our building is placed is on sacred ground. The member tribes of the Wabanaki Confederacy, the Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Micmac peoples lived here, stewarded this land through generations. And we recognize that there have been repeated violations of their sovereignty and attacks upon their being and their well-being over the centuries, and that this congregation were one of the perpetrators of that violence and the founding of this church. So we work hard to acknowledge that on Sundays and to reinforce our commitment to supporting the Wabanaki Alliance in their current striving for sovereignty. And I think this morning you need to know that the bills, let's see if I can remember, 906, LD 906, LD 585, and LD 1626 made it out of committee, which means that they're going to the full legislation to be voted on. So now is the time to write your letters to your legislators and to Governor Mills to really, really stress the importance of passing all three of those bills. Told you about the flowers. Candles. We always have candles on either side of the meeting house, and you are welcome to get up and light a candle during the music or during the meditation for someone you would like to remember, for us to hold in spirit and well-being in the service. And joys and sorrows are welcome. I also added cards to the tables today. If you would like someone from either me or someone from our pastoral care team to contact you, just jot your name and contact info on those cards and leave them on the table. I will collect them after the service and we will be in touch. So light a candle, and if you would like a response, fill out a card. I noticed we have children in our sanctuary, and I like to remind us all that being welcoming to children and families is all about enjoying their presence, their wiggles, their chortles, whatever noises and movements they make. And so I want to make sure that we remind ourselves of that sometimes we can get stodgy in worship, and a little noise is just fine. And you see the thermometer, and Richard Burbank is going to tell us about his stewardship moment this morning. Thank you, Richard.
No mask? No mas?
No mas.
Hello, I'm Richard Burbank. My wife, Samantha Regal, and I have been part of this congregation for a number of years, and I can't remember exactly, but it's been for a while. And we have a spiritual home here. It's meant a lot to me. I got more involved with the UU Church when we moved to Portland. My wife was very involved in Rockland, and I lifted weights or did other things instead of go to UU Church in Rockland. When I got here, I fell in love with the music. And the music here is really special to me. And the growth of my spiritual growth has centered here around Wabanaki rights, dealing with white supremacy as a tall white man, dealing with what comes our way from the pandemic to Ukraine. I need this church. And in thinking about stewardship this year, my wife and I started a business while I was unemployed a number of years ago, so we've lived through some lean times. And thankfully, we're doing fairly well. We own a business that does energy efficiency work, and I feel strongly about it, and finally we're able to be a little bit more successful. So we have a little bit more finances in our tank. We're lucky that way. We feel lucky. But luck can be struck down in a moment. My Prius was eaten by mice, so it's been totaled. So just as we're about to fill this out, are we committing to the 20% more this year? Suddenly, we got this word and then found out that the insurance company does not cover mice damage if it's not a sudden event. I'm like, what do you want, like a mice blitzkrieg or something for you to, I mean, mice don't do that, but they destroyed my Prius, and that cost us a lot of money. However, it's for that very reason of dealing with Ukraine, dealing with a mice attack on my Prius, that I need this. And that's why we did say yes to the extra amount. And as an employer, who's always struggled to make ends meet in our business. It hasn't been hugely profitable, but we've been at this 15 years. Finally, we were able to ask our customers to invest more in the cost so we could pay our employees more. So we raised our base of wages up $4 across the board, and it felt good to do that as a business owner. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes to make that happen. And if we are able to, as members of this congregation, if we can do that, because we are lucky in that we have that ability, great. I've been in the position where I have not been in that ability and done my best. So I encourage you to think along those lines. Because it's very important that we provide a living fair wage for our staff here. That's our biggest expense that we have to come forward to. And I know it's important to all of us, and this is how we can do it. And the final moment that I have here, which I need to get my glasses out for, is, we have an exciting future. We have a new settled minister to find with the help and navigation of our interim minister, Reverend Elaine. And we're looking for a final music director. We have a huge, exciting future, and we need to make this investment in stewardship. So if you can, despite mice attacks equivalents in your life, if you can figure out a way to give a little more, we would all appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Susan Cook. I'm your stewardship chair. Thank you, Richard, for your commitment to First Parish and for sharing your story with us. Thank you, too, for those of you who have also already made a pledge for our stewardship drive for the future of First Parish. We have choices in our personal lives and as members of the church community. Financial considerations affect the decisions we make about those choices. Based on our personal budget, we might go out to dinner, or get pizza delivered, or make a simple dinner at home. Our family vacation might be to Paris, France, or it might be to Paris, Maine. The result of the stewardship drive will affect our choices for First Parish as well. What will our faith formation programs look like in the future? Our music program. What support will be available for our efforts through Faith in Action and other activism? Will our settled minister candidates see First Parish as a vibrant and supportive community? To date this year, we have received pledges of close to $175,000 towards our stewardship drive goal of $230,000. With your support, we can reach our goal. The ribbon on this thermometer moves, and I would be glad to change it today. Feel free to talk to me later. If you have not yet made a pledge, please do so now. There are 3 easy ways to make your pledge. I have pledge cards available today, and they're here in the basket. You can leave your pledge card there, see me afterwards, or members of the stewardship team, or put it in the offering plate. From your computer at home, go to the pledge form button at the top right of the First Parish website, firstparishportland.org. You also can mail in your pledge card. So please, the future is us. We are UUs, and the time is now. Thank you.
I suggested to Susan that what she do is just divide up the last $60,000 by the number of people who haven't pledged, and that's what we'll expect all of you to pledge. So that'll be an incentive for next year to get your pledge in early, because if we start that process, you'll be the first one to pledge every year. Please enjoy the prelude as we begin our worship. Throughout today's service, I want you to imagine a gender-equal world. A world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. A world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, today, we are going to focus our attention on women's equality. International Women's Day is March 8th every year. It has happened every year since 1909, and it's been a focal point throughout history on the movement for women's rights. The Socialist Party of America organized that first International Women's Day in February of 1909. Then in 1910, International Socialist Women's Conference suggested that a Women's Day be held every year, and so it has been on March 8th. In 1978, several states decided that one day was not enough, so it became a whole month. And then in 1980, President Carter declared the first National Women's History Month. And because of the association with March 8th, March became a federal month of remembering women's history. So today, we are joining with all of those across our nation, in pulpits across the land, and in all sorts of other organizational moments, celebrating Women's History Month and the globe's focus on International Women's Day and Women's Month. The theme this year, every year there's a theme for International Women's Day, and this year it was Break the Bias. And I want you to all to practice this gesture. Every year they create a gesture, and if you go online to the International Women's Day, you will see women and men from all over the world in this posture, committing to the breaking of bias. So that's what we are going to do today, is focus on breaking the bias. And we're going to open up with a hymn, marching, and though we can't yet sing, I am inviting you today to rise for the hymns and listen to the choir sing, and we can move and hum as our choir leads us in hymn 109. Rise as able in body or spirit. This morning we're going to light our chalice in thanks for all the women who have cleared the way and serve as our guiding lights when the days grow dim. We remember that we never walk alone. As I'm moving down to lead you into the covenant, the Unison Covenant, I invite you to call to your mind the names of the women in your stories who have inspired you, mentored you, motivated you, educated you, supported you, nurtured you. Please say their names out loud as I'm coming down, or you can hold them in silence in your heart, but we want their stories present with us in this meeting house today. printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church, and truth is a sacrament, and service is our prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. I think it's time for Ray and Sam to come forward and share with us the time for all ages. Welcome. Tobin is in Brunswick. That's one of the things we're hoping we can change in stewardship.
Hello, children.
Of all ages.
Of all ages. If you don't know me, my name is Ray. This is Sam. We do the faith formation classes here at First Parish. And today's service is all about how women have been, how important women have been throughout history. So for the Time for All Ages story this morning, we're going to read a poem by a woman named Frances E.W. Harper, who lived from 1825 to 1911. You might be wondering, why was Frances Harper so important that we talk about her today? Well, not only was she a very good poet and the first African-American woman to publish a short story, but she was an influential abolitionist, someone who worked against the practice of slavery. She was also a suffragist, someone who worked to give more people, especially women, the right to vote. A note about those last two titles, abolitionist and suffragist. We often think about the suffragist movement as recent history, and we think about slavery as ancient history. But Frances E.W. Harper lived through both. And the suffragist movement that we as white women mostly here today we gained the right to vote in 1920. Frances E.W. Harper worked so hard, and black women did not receive the right to vote until 1965. And we need to remember that even today. So I'm going to read her poem, and thank God for little children. Thank God for little children, bright flowers by earth's wayside, the dancing, joyous lifeboats upon life's stormy tide. Thank God for little children when our skies are cold and gray. They come as sunshine to our hearts and charm our cares away. I almost think the angels who tend life's garden fair drop down the sweet wild blossoms that bloom around us here. It seems a breath of heaven, round many a cradle lies, and every little baby brings a message from the skies. Dear mothers, guard these jewels as sacred offerings meet, a wealth of household treasures to lay at Jesus' feet. We will now play the children out to their faith formation meeting in the community room on the first floor. And if you were here last week or the week prior, if you are sitting on the ends of the aisles and would like to stand and help us lead the children out and make a pathway for them as they come down through the center.
And Ray, I need to ask for a moment.
Absolutely.
Because I asked one of our younger women to be a reader today, forgetting that you would be leaving before the sermon. Would you like to read the name of the woman that you have before you march out today? Please share. You can take down your mask and shout it out. Then we'll play you out. Thank you for bringing Winona LaDuke into the service with us. Now we will sing you all out and make our arch. As I invite you into a moment of meditation or prayer, I want to hold up two celebrations today because we always carry joy and sorrow woven thin in our meditation and try to draw a circle of care and compassion around all those who need our words. But today, I would like to announce the arrival of a very precious new person, Xander James Medeiros, whose father is our wonderful technology expert and standing up there, came into this world on last Monday at 5:06 p.m., weighing 7 pounds 2 ounces. So please, a round of applause for Xander James Medeiros, to be known as Ziggy. And many of you may know that one of the reasons that Scott Wheatley had to leave us as our director of music was because of the health of his husband, Jeffrey. And I am very pleased to announce that Jeffrey was the recipient of a new liver and had that put into his body last week. So please send cards and congratulations to Scott and to Jeffrey. And I remind you of the candles for any joys or concerns you would like lifted up in this meeting house. So take a deep breath. Settle yourselves into your bodies, feet planted firmly on the earth. And as your breath circulates through your body, through your heart and mind, allow yourself to be opened to whatever it was or is that you arrived into this space this morning or online to give or to receive. And enjoy this poem, because no one could ever praise us enough. Because I don't mean these poems only, but the unseen, unbelievable effort it takes to live the life that goes on between the lines. I think all of the time about invisible work, about the young mother on welfare I interviewed years ago who said, it's hard. You bring him to the park, run rings around yourself, keeping him safe, cut hot dogs into little bite-sized pieces for dinner, and there's no one to say what a good job you're doing. How you are patient and loving for the 1,000th time, even though you have a headache. And I, who am used to feeling sorry for myself because I'm lonely, while all the while, as the Chippewa poem says, I am being carried by great winds across the sky. The thought of that invisible work that stitches up the world day by day, the slow, unglamorous work of healing, the way worms in the garden tunnel ceaselessly so the earth can breathe, and bees ransack the world into being, while owls and poets stalk shadows, our loneliest labors under the moon. There are mothers for everything. And the sea is a mother too, whispering and whispering to us long after we have all stopped listening. I stop and let myself lean for just a moment against the blue shoulder of the sky. The work of my heart is the work of the world's heart. There is no other art. That is a poem called Invisible Work. And I invite you to enjoy our quiet, special music. Oop, not yet. Sorry. Spirit of life. And reflect on the invisible work of the women you know. Another poem. Our reading is Among Women by Maria Panza. What women wander? Not many? All? A few? Most would, now and then, and no wonder. Some, and I'm one, wander simply sitting still. My small grandmother bought from every peddler less for the ribbons and lace than for their scent, baubles. Of sleep where you will, walk out when you choose, your bread and your company. She wandered. She warned me, have nothing to lose. She looked fragile, but had high blood, runner's ankles, could endure and endure. She loved her rooted garden, her grandchildren, her once wild and once young man. Women do wander as best they can. Now, our music.
Put on your faith. that dry blue pill. They may see all monsters, they may run away, but I have to do this. I can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. A one-woman riot.
She authored 4 books. Her writing and activism greatly improved the economic and social status of Kenyan women in rural areas by combining women's rights and environmentalism. Her work illuminated the connection between poverty, environmental desegregation, and power, and gave women the tools to combat all 3.
Beyonce Knowles, born 1981. While she has claimed her fame through music, Beyonce Knowles also has made her mark on social activism. She has advocated for women's rights both off and on stage, one example being her 2014 VMA performance, which incorporated Shimananda Ngozi Adichie's essay, "We Should All Be Feminists." She has also made statements against police brutality, including in her iconic visual album, Lemonade.
Malala Yousafzai, born in 1997, the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner of all time. Malala Yousafzai has become an icon in the battle for girls' rights. At the age of 15, the Taliban attempted to assassinate her for demanding an education for herself and other girls. She has since made speeches to the United Nations, published a book, and continues to advocate for equal rights.
And there are so many more. Ketanji Brown Jackson, Ariana Huffington, Rachel Maddow, Christina Amanpour, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Angela Merkel. Say a few you know: Dolly Parton, Tina Fey, Ellen DeGeneres, Lady Gaga, Melinda Gates, Queen Elizabeth, Jane Goodall, Emma Gonzalez, Helen Keller, Frida Kahlo, Lucille Ball, Maya Angelou. We could go on and on, from Madame Curie to Shirley Chisholm to Hillary Clinton, Eleanor Roosevelt, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, Nancy Pelosi. Women, powerful women, since the beginning of time, throughout history. Women have been changing the world with their strength, resistance, brilliance, and determination to create a better future for all people. What makes a woman powerful? The way she speaks, how she moves, color of her hair, how smart she is, how tall she is, how much money she has. To me, a woman's power is defined by 3 very important qualities. 1, the physical, mental, familial, and social obstacles that she has to confront to have her voice heard and to overcome in her life to succeed. 2, how the lives of others are affected by her perseverance and her courage to overcome those obstacles. And 3, she won't keep quiet. Today is a celebration of Women's History Month, and all those women we named, all the women you named, all the women who have created the paths that we each have strode upon to arrive where we are today. I'm going to tell you about a couple more in detail than the ones that were already read. One was Claudette Colvin. Years before Rosa Parks, she walked to downtown Montgomery with 3 of her classmates. She and her friends were going to take a city bus home from school that day. When they boarded the bus, they sat behind the first 5 rows, as was required. Then they moved. Claudia moved right up to the area reserved for white passengers. A young white woman boarded the bus after Colvin and her friends and found nowhere to sit because the white section was now full. The bus driver asked Colvin and her friends to get up and move. which all of her friends immediately did. But Colvin, Claudette, stayed. On her mind were the lessons she had been learning throughout her life, especially during Negro History Month, at her school just days before. Though her friends' seats were now vacant and the people could sit down, the white woman refused to sit next to a young black woman. When asked again to move, Claudette refused again to get up. The bus driver alerted the traffic police, and 3 stops later, a traffic officer came onto the bus and asked her why she was sitting there and why she should not get up. She replied, "Because this is my constitutional right to sit right here." She told him she was not breaking the segregation law by sitting there. And a stop or two later, the 2 police officers came onto the bus and instructed her to get up. She again refused. "I could not move because history had me glued to my seat." Sojourner Truth's hands were pushing me down on one shoulder, and Harriet Tubman was holding me down with the other. The police officers each grabbed one of her arms, picked her right up, threw her books from her lap, and threw her off the bus. They shoved her in their police car, handcuffed her through the windows, and took her off to jail. She was the first person to be arrested for trying to change Montgomery's bus segregation laws. Claudette Colvin. Some of you may have not learned the name of Tarana Burke. She's an American social activist and community organizer, and she first started using the term Me Too in 2006. She was using it to work with young women that she knew had experienced sexual assault, sexual abuse, and other injuries. The phrase Me Too was tweeted years later by actress Alyssa Milano around noon on October 15th, 2017, so over 10 years after Tarana had been using the term. Milano was encouraging all the victims of sexual harassment to tweet about it and give people a sense of the magnitude of the problem. By the end of that day, Me Too had been used over 200,000 times. By October 16th, it had been tweeted more than 500,000 times. And on Facebook, the hashtag was used more than 4.7 million times within 24 hours, and eventually over 12 million posts around the world documented for the use of violence against women and assaults and sexual abuse. The platform noted that over 45% of Facebook users were reporting that they were using the term about their own experiences. 45% of Facebook users. Tens of thousands of people, including hundreds of celebrities, replied with Me Too stories. Full stories, not just a tweet. Some men, such as actors Terry Crow and James Vanderbeek, responded to the hashtag with their own experiences of harassment and abuse, while others responded with their promise and their commitment to change. How will I change? Became a hashtag for men. The original purpose of Tarana Burke's use of Me Too was to empower young black girls. But now, because of Alyssa Milano and her working together, it is empowering and encouraging the phrase to be used over and over again, and we've watched what has happened to hold men accountable in our society since 2017. The mighty have fallen. After millions of people started using this phrase, and it spread through many different languages, through many different countries, Tarana Burke was encouraged to accept the title of the leader of the movement. And she has. But she started this movement, she said, for both men and women of all colors and ages to recognize the damage of harassment, abuse, prejudice, and so many other oppressions affecting us all in our society. So she continues her activism and her work with young girls. And there have been many movements started by men and women since 2017 to change the culture through personal reflection, truth-telling, and including the I did that, I have, and I will movements. So I was remembering back in 2017 that at the young age of 23, I thought I was pretty hot stuff, independent, self-made woman, and I gave myself a Hurricane Island outward bound course because I had graduated from nursing school, I'd passed my exams, I was now a registered nurse, and I was celebrating. So I hitchhiked from Florida for my very first experience of Maine in 1973 and arrived with about 15 other women for an all-women's Hurricane Island outward bound course. I think it was the first night that we were all sitting around the campfire and feminism and feminists came up, and I so arrogantly said, I don't believe in that feminist movement. I've never felt oppressed. I've done exactly what I want to do. Look at how I got here. And then I went on and on. Then this young woman sitting across from the fire said to me, looked me right in the eye and said, yeah? Then why are you a nurse, not a doctor? She silenced me. I had never in my wildest dreams thought I could be a doctor. I remember in high school, there were 3 options: secretary, teacher, nurse. That's it. Did I think about being a journalist or a doctor? Not in a second. It was then that I realized how internalized bias affects us, how internalized oppression affects us. You don't even notice that you're breathing the poison. You do not recognize that it has affected you until someone points it out. So, this year's women's theme is all about breaking the bias so that no more young women feel the limitations of what's possible for them, that they can stretch to their farthest reaches of possibility. Since the Me Too movement, it has been shown through statistics that 1 out of every 4 women is abused sexually as a child or as an adult. And that over, I think it was, let me see if I can get, I think I have this. I Can't Keep Quiet was noticed that not just the 45% of the people on Facebook, but over 80% of all women in the United States, didn't say the world, but in the United States, have experienced some form of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, exclusion, or limitations because of their gender. 80%. And that's from everyone from the people who report getting lower wages than the man who's sitting next to them with the same credentials, to children who are being abused. 80% of women. And think about it. How many of those don't say anything because, like me, they have no awareness that they have been affected by the oppression in their lives or how they were raised? So today, we are going to give thanks for the grassroots activism worldwide that is changing the lives of women. All the names that we shared, because we are actually entering into a very exciting age. For all marginalized identities, we are waking up to the power of prejudice, to oppression, to the ways that human lives are limited from their potential by oppressive social standards. And so today, what we're going to do is we're all going to practice this, break the bias. We're going to rise as we are able to participate in the closing hymn of Building a New Way, and we're going to focus on all those women. The 12 million that reported the Me Too hashtag and their experiences, all the ones who haven't yet reported, all the young, middle, and older women who are experiencing a new freedom for being able to speak their truth. So rise in body or spirit as you are able, and we will give thanks for all the cherished women in our lives and our histories. Mothers, siblings, friends, neighbors, teachers, doctors, friends, many women-identified people across the globe and in this room continue to be empowered, to grow to their maximum potential. From any age, you can shake off and break the bias and take your journey towards wholeness, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional wholeness. So, I'm going to invite you, because we aren't quite singing yet. We might be by Easter, I hope. So we're working on that. But you can move. You can snap your fingers. Clap. Let's go. Build a New Way, our closing hymn.
At the top again.
please hold up one of those teal hymnals? So see these teal hymnals? This is the first church that I have served in 25 years that doesn't have the teal hymnal in the pews. Do we have enough hymnals for the pews?
We've been slowly building up the supply.
So that is a great introduction to the offering. We will continue to slowly build up our offering and our number of teal hymnals, which gives you all the more contemporary music that Unitarian Universalists across the globe are singing. All your contributions are appreciated. All your contributions are holy, and I encourage you to give generously for the future and the vitality. You are the future. Thank you all. That was perfectly timed. I planted that. Because we lost a very, very powerful voice this week, I wanted to close our service with these words from Madeleine Albright. I love being a woman, and I was not one of those women who rose through professional life by wearing men's clothes or trying to look masculine or be masculine. I loved wearing bright colors and being exactly who I am. It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I am not going to be silent. Well, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the power of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we light it again. Thank you. I guess I have to remember to put oil in the lamp, along with other things.
There's a metaphor.
Thank you all.